uh, we know what is shared responsibility model. See, if you are working in on premises, right, everything from the scratch, that is setting up the servers, racking it, stacking it up, putting the underlying infrastructure in place, launching your application, management of the application, security of the application, everything becomes your responsibility. See, but when you're working in cloud, be it in software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service category, you have partial responsibilities with you, right? So responsibilities are always retained by the customer, and responsibility varies by service type. Responsibility transfers to the cloud provider. So in traditional approach, everything was there, along with we did not have a proper satisfaction of the responsibility sharing. We have everything to do from the scratch, right? But when you are working with cloud enablement, you can leverage cloud based security applications, you can leverage cloud intelligence for better performance, right? You can lift and shift your responsibilities to the cloud provider. So in our case, it is Microsoft. And we have already seen the Azure hierarchy in the portal. So how we have the management group, subscription, and resource group in place. So previously we have discussed in the previous videos. So we have management group, which is used to manage more than one subscription if you have in your account. For example, you have a production team and you want them to use only subscription 1 and 2, and you have a subscription 3 as well in your account, and you want them that to be used by the non-production team. So you can segregate the distribution of subscriptions according to the teams. So this you can easily see it in the portal, right? So you just have to type here as management group, and a hierarchical way in which you can distribute the ownership of the subscription among different teams. You can see it here. So we have a tenant root group, although we only have one subscription added, because in our account we have one subscription only. If we have more than one subscription, those subscription will be visible here, and you have the option that you can create hierarchies here. So we'll click on create. The tenant root group, all the subscriptions that you have within the account will be visible. And here you can create a management group identity and the name. For example, new prod team needs to be created, and this is for the production. So we can create a management group here. Right. So new management group is created, and we can associate different subscriptions to this, different resource groups which are a part of that, and we can have more of management and governance. So that is why management groups are very important. Then we have policies. See, in our organization, sometimes we need to apply compliance, both from the organizational perspective as well as sometimes we need to comply with government standards. So for all those compliant related issues, we can address those with the help of policy. So what is policy? Policy is a certain set of rules that you want to apply over the environment that you're using, maybe at the subscription level, maybe at the resource group level, or maybe at the tenant level of the management group. So when you apply, so that is inherited from the parent to child, just in the same way as RBAC and locks are done. So when you apply this, it will be enforced. For example, I applied in my environment setup, I have applied that anyone can spin up a resource only in East US. But if there is an existing resource in West US, what will happen to the existing resource? That resource will be there, but with a non-compliance tag. But the new resources, can I create in West US? No, because the policy is already applied. Once the policy is not there, you can do anything. But once the policy is applied, then going forward, you cannot do. For the existing resources which are there with a non-compliance, you can make it compliant by following certain steps mentioned in the portal. So what is Azure Policy? Azure Policy is a service in Azure that is used to create, assign, and manage policies. So Azure Policy runs evaluation and scans for non-compliant resources. It is used for enforcement, applying policies at scale, and remediation methods. So these are some of the examples or use cases that you can apply within the account, like allowed resource type. You want to say that only this type of resource type is allowed to be spinned up by me or the members of my organization. Maybe allowed virtual machine. So in my account, only this type of virtual machine is allowed. Maybe a particular variant of general purpose compute is allowed to be spinned up. A particular allowed location, in which just an example I gave for East US or West US. Maybe I want to spin up the resources with a tag that is mandatory. And Azure backup should be enabled for all the virtual machines. So we have already seen how role based access control can be applied at the subscription, resource group, resource or management group level, and how AD roles or entra roles are applied at the tenant level. So what is the difference between RBAC or policies? See, RBAC is more of assignment to a user, and policies define what needs to be done. Maybe certain things needs to be applied. In the RBAC, you give permissions to a user what they can do, but here policy is more of a compliance that we check. So here we grant or deny the permission, and here is more of a compliance that we check in policy. So there are some built-in RBAC permissions that are most common, like owner. He has full rights over all the resources and can give permissions to others as well. The contributor has full right over the resource but cannot give permissions to others. Reader can read all the resource list or read all the details of the resource, and user access administrator can give permissions to a user over the resources. So these are some built-in RBAC roles that you must know. This is very useful when you apply the permissions. Apart from that, at the resource level, you can apply permission related to resource specific, like VM administrator, VM contributor, and so on. Then locks. Locks is to lock a particular level. For example, this also has parent to child inheritance. If you lock a subscription, you cannot delete the resource group or resources as well in the resource hierarchy. So locks are to prevent any accidental changes, either by updation activity or deletion activity. So two types of locks are there: delete lock and read only lock. Read only lock prevent any changes, and delete lock prevent deletion of the resources. This we have already discussed with a demo in the Azure portal as well. Sometimes in our environment, we need a proper environment to be set up, certain roles to be executed, certain policies to be in place, certain resources to be spinned up. According to certain requirements that we have, we can spin up something called as a blueprint. Blueprint is a template environment which has roles also included, and it is designed to spin up a particular environment which you want to set up for your organization requirement. So these are reusable because it is in form of a template, and every time you run this blueprint, the same template and whatever resources is mentioned in the blueprint, that will be effectively running in your environment. So it is a package for all the requirements that you have, the roles, the resources, everything in place, which is properly defined in the blueprint. We also have a service called a subscription management, where you can add more subscriptions, delete subscriptions. So this we have seen when you are trying to buy subscriptions. So we'll go to the subscription panel. So I have Azure Pass. I can add more subscriptions. Every time you add a subscription, it will check whether you are eligible for certain subscription or not.
Thank you everyone. Like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel and keep learning.